What's going on, Jerome's? Minnesota Vikings should and could be looking to improve the trenches in free agency. Yes, defensive line, but also O-line. They have the cash. They have the motivation. Just get after things up front. And, of course, Trey Smith is my number one crush in terms of free agent interior offensive lineman. Found the love of a lifetime. I honestly think that he would be as impactful of a free agent signing at guard as Steve Hutchinson from the Seahawks in 06, the OG poison pill. But just get after Trey Smith, and I understand. Super Bowl, a little bit rough. And the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line did some very, very bad things to the Chiefs offensive line. Trey Smith was out there too. And it's just, I don't know. There is a viral clip out there about Nolan Smith taking on a Trey Smith kickout block. Is just like, yeah, it was rough all the way around. And yes, the Vikings will have to get through the Eagles and their defensive line if they do want to indeed go to the Super Bowl within these next couple of years. But it's unfair to put all the blame on Trey Smith. Like, there was a lot of blame to go around, even though I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you still want Trey Smith now? But basically, it was really rough. And Jumpin' Joe Thuney is one of the best left guards in the game, but through a bunch of injuries, they've had to kick him out to left tackle. But he had 7 pressures and a sack. Mike Caliendo would have been better putting Frank Caliendo out there. It was rough. Creed had a clean game. Smith dinged for 3 pressures and a sack. Also, it's important to know. It's like, I know they'll be like, oh, you still want Trey Smith now? PFF credited Trey Smith for 1 sack in the Super Bowl. It was the only sack that he allowed all season. So, yes, I still friggin' want Trey Smith. I absolutely do, man. Also, Taylor had a rough game. Travis Kelce, Pacheco also gave up a sack. Mahomes is credited for a sack as well. It's just a breakdown of the entire offensive line and protection unit against a very good defensive front, and it was just a really rough day all the way around. It's unfair to put it all on Trey Smith, but yeah, let's not discount the fact that Trey Smith also had previously won 2 Super Bowls and has just been really getting after things. Plus, the fact that he's been a top 10 PFF graded right guard in each of his last 4 years. He's been consistently great, both as a run blocker as well as a pass protector. So let's not let one game where his entire unit failed against a very good Eagles pass rush. Nah, that's ridiculous. And also, just for comparison's sake, Trey Smith versus the Vikings right guards. And remember, Trey Smith played 3 extra games, or 2 extra games, versus Ingram plus Reisner at right guard for the Vikings. So Trey Smith, 34 pressures allowed, 1 sack, as well as a 7.4% pressure rate, which is good. It's pretty good. Ingram and Reisner in fewer snaps, 45 pressures, 6 sacks, and a 9.76% pressure rate. So let's not talk about Trey Smith not being a massive upgrade and worth the money. And yeah, it is going to be a lot. And you're looking at paying Trey Smith tier 1 guard money, $21 million per year. Would he be worth it? Yes. In my opinion, I still think that he absolutely would be worth it. And he's been absolutely consistent, and also brings that physicality, can block in man or gap, as well as has been an elite pass protector during his 4 seasons in the National Football League, and just instantly improves the credibility of this offensive line. He and Brian O'Neill are going to make up an elite side of the right side of the Vikings O-line, as well as Trey Smith, what he brings in communication and working in harmony with the center could improve Bradbury or whoever the hell they have at the pivot, right? And could it be a spot too where, maybe in the eyes of the Vikings or other teams around the league, maybe that price tag just dips a little bit? Maybe instead of getting $22 million per year, maybe he gets 19, 20, right? Maybe it's something as small as that. But I understand. It's like, well, do you want to spend all that money on Trey Smith, or do you want to get a Will Fries and James Daniels? You want to get both of them, or you want to get Becton, who eye test wise had an okay game, except no, it's interesting. So the Eagles offensive line, obviously eyeball test wise, had a good game, but of course PFF, they give all the credit to Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, right? They completely skewered Dickerson, Juergens, and Becton on the inside, even though they were fine. Just so don't pay attention to that. But do you want Becton and Macari, or Becton and Zeitler for the cost of Trey Smith? I understand the argument and the logic, but I do think that the Vikings should and could still be in on Trey Smith. And it could be a spot, too, where the Vikings are interested up to a certain price point. It's basically this year's version of what happened with Christian Wilkins, the defense tackle from Miami last year. Obviously, the Vikings had a ton of interest. Former Flores guy would have been a huge at a position of need, but the Vikings weren't going to get involved in a bidding war with the Raiders, who paid Wilkins ridiculous money. It could be a spot like that with Trey Smith, and don't get me wrong, a consolation prize of, say, Becton and Scherf, or Becton and Zeitler, or James Daniels, Will Fries, certainly fine with that. But one bad game where everyone had a bad game, no, it's fine. Like, Trey Smith is still an absolute baller, and he's going to be a legitimate top 5 adjacent right guard for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So, yes, the Vikings should still be in. But your thoughts are thoughts. Let us know. Comment section. You guys are the best you know what to do. Skull production value.